So, Lorraine, I'm so glad that you're here, and hopefully we will be joined by some more people in a little bit. I have put some things in the chat for you if you want to go check them out. One is an interview that I did on Story Power with John Dudakis, who is an expert on prolific writer's life, and he's also um, oh, I just got a text. And he's also a member and he's a writer. So I thought that that might be interesting for you if you want to check out Story Power and how I host it. And maybe you might want to be a guest on my podcast. Although I have recordings or episodes scheduled through June of 2026. So it might be a while before you get to be on my podcast. And then the other thing is that I put in the chat a link to Podmatch, which I'm going to show a little bit later, maybe if we have time, just so you can look at one example of what I call a dating service for podcasters. And so yeah, if you want to join, that's my affiliate link. I only get like $5 or $2 and $50 when people join, but it's a little bit of something.
And just as a quick note, Lucinda, if you put those in the chat, anybody who shows up after they've put in the chat, we can't see it, so we don't see those links. Um, you have to kind of like copy paste them back in.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. Hi. Somebody came. Is it Johnny or John? Um, okay, that was the number that I typed in for Jess was wrong. So let me see.
Welcome, John. We are just getting started on the podcast guesting event here.
The number that you gave me for Jess is wrong. Somebody
Oh,
said texted me back and said wrong number.
okay. Sorry.
Okay. Um, yeah. So, John, can you hear us? Can you hear us? Uh, hmm. Okay. Uh, yeah. So I can. I mean, I can include those. Oh, yes, you can hear us. Oh, good. So do you have to type things into the chat because you can't talk to us because you're someplace where you can't talk to us? Oh, okay. Okay. So, is it, am I pronouncing it right? Is it John or is it Johnny? Johnny. Okay. Johnny, Lorraine is the founder of Prolific Writer's Life, and she and I have a relationship already, but we would like you to introduce yourself if you would. So type a little bit of something in the chat about yourself, and have you ever been on a podcast before? That's one thing I want to know. But are you a writer? Why are you here?
And Lucinda, while he's doing that, I can just say real quickly, I have really enjoyed being on your podcast twice. I love that you tell a lot of stories and so forth, and just have so many interesting guests and what you've been doing for so many years. And I also really appreciate that you share so much with fellow writers. And thank you so much because, we learn not only from being on your podcast and, being writers or authors on your podcast, but also by watching the other interviews you do with the other guests. So thank you so much for what you do.
Sure, my pleasure. I love talking to people, so if I talk to them about being a podcast guest, that's great. Or just about their books or whatever. So, Johnny is a writer. Don't ever know what a podcast, don't even know what a podcast is, but want to learn because I've been told it will boost book sales. Yes, that's true. Well, yeah, if you don't have access to the internet, well, you could get it through cellular data. You could listen to podcasts through cellular data. And there are so many podcasts out there that it's really they have them on YouTube, they have them on Amazon, and places like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. There are a lot of places you can access. iHeartRadio is another place where you can access and just listen to people talk. It's sort of like a throwback to the old radio shows, but it's more like just two people having a conversation. Isn't, don't you, have you listened to lots of podcasts, Lorraine?
Yeah. And I guess there's kind of I kind of separate the two. I think the traditional podcast is just voice, where you're
Hmm.
just on one of these tools that you mentioned, whether it's Apple or Amazon or whatever, and you're listening to podcasts. So it's like a radio show interview. But I also like the YouTube ones too, where it's, they record and you can actually see the people's faces like we can see each other now.
Yeah,
It adds another dimension, but it's way more convenient to listen when you're driving and you don't see people. So you
right.
just uh,
Yes,
you just get
right.
to talk
Yeah.
about your book as an author or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so Johnny, I have in the chat, if you go up a little bit, I have a link for a podcast that I hosted. What, they can't see it?
Because we came after the time you entered them. You could
Oh,
just copy paste it and put it in again, though.
I thought that it would be there for you. Okay.
Bob told me that's a Zoom setting that you can change, but I haven't figured out how to change it yet on mine.
I have to figure out that too. Okay, so I just put in the chat a podcast that I was the host and John Dudakis was the guest. He is an expert here on Prolific Writer's Life. He has written what, six books now, I think, six mysteries with the same main character. So there's an arc through all of the books. I've only read the first two books. There's that one, and then later on I'll copy the link for Podmatch if you want to go there, if we have a chance to go and listen or go look at that. Um, what I call a dating service for podcasters. So if you're going to be on a podcast, if you're thinking of promoting your books that way, because I think, didn't we see uh, weren't you on Marshall's podcast? I mean, excuse me, event on the 12th of August. Are you the one that was there? And you have books that you have already published. We saw on your website. Are you the one that did that? And but in any case, podcasting is a really great way to promote books or whatever it is you have that you want to share. And you might want to just go listen to some to begin with. And there you can search. Like if you're in Spotify, you can search for podcasts that only deal with books and writing. And then you can just listen to some of them and see which ones you kind of like. And you can identify and save them somehow, like in Spotify or Apple or on YouTube. You can save them in a list. And then a lot of times they will have their website as part of their information about the podcaster. And you can go and write a little blurb about yourself and request to be on their podcast. Now, if you want to be on my podcast, it's really easy. All you have to do is email me, and I'm going to put my home email, not Story Power, because sometimes the Story Power email I don't get them for some reason. There's a little glitch with Google. Um, so there's my email, and you can email me and ask to be a guest on Story Power. And Story Power is on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, my website, and YouTube. And you can go if you ever go to YouTube and look at videos, you can subscribe to Story Power, and then you can just listen and see if you like. Well, you can listen to the one that I just gave you, but you can see if you like me as a host. So that's the first step. The second step is
Mm.
contacting the host. That's the second step. The third step is, what do you want to say or what do you want to share on the podcast? So you have you probably have a little what they call an elevator speech about your book or your writing, or if you have more than one book. Uh, so you want to develop that. So that when you're on the podcast, you have something, when they ask you to tell about your book or books, you have something kind of concise to say, because usually podcasts are about 40 minutes, 45 minutes. Mine are sometimes an hour long, depending on who I'm talking to and where they're from and how interesting their story is. Um, so yeah, think about what you want to say, what you want to share about your books. But be prepared, because sometimes this is the kind of person I am. The person that I'm interviewing will be talking, and a question will come into my head, and it isn't planned. So sometimes they'll ask you something that you're not really ready for. And so you might have to say, "Oh, wow, what a great question." Have to think about that a little bit. And then, try to answer the best you can. But yeah, it's sometimes that podcast hosts, because I have also been a guest, will ask something unexpected, and I have to, oh, wow, I have to think about that. But it's always fun. That's always a fun thing too, because sometimes that sends you off into a different tangent and you have a good conversation with your host. Another thing that you will probably need to do is, if you do not belong to something like Podmatch, a site like Podmatch, is to prepare a press kit. So you want to have a headshot, you want to have a bio, you want to have maybe a description of your books. You want to have a list of your social media, if you have any. If you have a website, you want that in your press kit, your press packet, because they will ask you for that. Most of the time, they will ask you for that. Sometimes they ask you to give that during the interview, but I have show notes. And a lot of podcasters do have show notes, and so they want to put that in there so that the listener can just go to the show notes and copy and paste all of your socials or the information about your books or whatever it is, your website address, so that they can connect with you. And another thing to think about, and I have only started doing this year. I've been a podcaster for 5 years. And I have started requesting the author to send me their books. I like to read the books before I interview the people. It's not always possible to do that, but if I can, I try to read their book before we have a conversation. I found that that is really gives us more to talk about when we're talking about the characters. Or I've read 3 or 4 maybe memoirs Uh, and so it's always good to have, something from the book that we can talk about because I think that piques the interest of the listeners if they know a little bit more about the book and hear my reaction to the book, as well as the author talking about the experience of writing the book and that kind of thing. So, um, yeah, if they might ask you to send them a copy, I do ebooks almost exclusively because I have so many books in my house, I don't have room for them on my shelves anymore. Although sometimes they just want to send me a physical copy, so I let them do that. I was buying the books and it was getting pretty expensive, so a good way, it's a good use of your money and your time and effort to give them a book.
Quick
Um,
suggestion and a comment on that, Lucinda.
yeah.
Comment is it's amazing that you read the books because so many podcasters don't, and it's really obvious. Or you could tell maybe if they just poked into one chapter, but I think, you know, it is really amazing that you take the time to do that for your guests. And that's my comment. But then the question is, uh, what form how do people typically send you their ebooks? Is it usually a PDF or is it through a book funnel or some service?
Oh, a lot of, well, the most recent ones have just like given me a coupon to get it for free at Amazon. Or one of them did send me a PDF of it. I have to look. Although it is in my Kindle. I don't know. A couple of them I think are PDFs. Um, but they're in Kindle. So just must have saved them that way. I can't remember. I've had I have so many guests now that I have episodes scheduled through June of 2026. So Podmatch. Yay, Podmatch. But I only unhid my host profile for about 3 weeks and I got tons of people asking to be on Story Power. So I don't have all the books yet, because I'm not recording with those people until like November or January or February. So I'll have them send me the books a little closer to when we record. Um, but yeah, but I do have several in the house. I have a couple in the house that are physical books, and then I have three or four on Kindle waiting to be read. So, yeah, Johnny, whenever you have a question, just type it into the chat. Stop me and type it into the chat, um, so that I can answer any questions that you have. Okay, let's see. The next thing that you might want to consider, well, this one you always want to consider if you're going to be on Zoom and podcast, because a lot of podcasters now put things on Zoom, and that's your appearance. So, do you don't have to dress, super fancy, but it's nice to look nice, kind of nice. So, think about that. And then, so because I'm in my 70s, and most of the time when like when I attend events on Prolific Writer's Life, I don't wear makeup. I don't wear makeup every day. But if I'm hosting, or now that I have decided, starting this year, new year of my podcast, when I'm interviewing people, I am using the video portion on YouTube. So before that, I just had pictures of me and the guest and my logo, my Story Power logo. Um, but now I'm starting to use the video. So I wear makeup when I'm doing that because it's just nicer. Another thing that you have to think about, and this is for me, if you are going to be on a podcast, sometimes they will require that you have a certain kind of microphone. Or I also have a headset with a microphone. I do not use that anymore for podcasting. I have a microphone on my desk and I use my AirPods or the computer speakers. But yeah, if you are in a place where it's going to be difficult, well, one thing about Zoom is you can use your phone. Uh, there, there is a way to use your phone to Zoom so that people can see your face and hear your voice if you have a smartphone. Uh, but yeah, a lot of times, not a lot of times, there will be times when they will require you to have this fancy, you know, setup. I don't know why that is because most equipment has good enough microphone and camera that you don't really need it. Uh, but some people are very particular about that. I've been on podcasts where they require it, and unfortunately, I'm a podcaster. I already have the equipment. But that's something to think about too. Another thing to think about is I use a Mac. Safari is my browser. There are podcasters who you don't use Zoom, but they use something like StreamYard is one where it's not compatible with Safari. So I have to use Chrome to access the recording site. Uh, so that's another thing to think about. Um, I'm not a big, I'm sorry, I'm not a big Google fan. I was a teacher, had to use it for years and years, and sometimes I did not, it didn't work very well for me. But Chrome works okay. And or I could use Firefox. I could use that too with the StreamYard. But if they're using Zoom, you can probably just use your phone and everything will be hunky dunky. And you can work, it'll work. Let's see. The last thing is time zones.
Mm.
I have had interviews with people on the opposite side of the globe. So that's a consideration. How far away, what's their time zone? Now, on my phone, I have an international clock. So I can punch in where they're from, find out how many hours are between, like here and Sydney, Australia, which is 17, plus they're a day ahead of us, 17 hours plus a day ahead of us, or something like that. Or I've had a podcast guest from Iran. I could punch in where they were from, and then so we could work out the time zone thing. But that's a consideration depending on who the host is and where they're located and where you're located. It's always something to think about. So, do you have any questions, Johnny and Lorraine?
I just had a comment about the phone. If I find a lot of times if people are on a phone. Now, if it's sound, obviously you're forget the sound on the phone because you're just going to use probably the phone microphone. But also with people who are on a phone, a lot of times they'll try to hold it and you'll get this like they're, moving around and that can be very dizzying if it's going to be a
Yes.
record. So the phone
Yeah.
has to sit stable. And I think a lot of times too, if they are recording, that would be a good question to ask the podcaster if they want it horizontal or vertical, because,
Right.
it come out as nice if one is vertical and one is horizontal. So,
Yes. And I should have pulled it out of my closet. I have a thing that I can attach to my desk that holds my phone, like this or like this. It depends. And it has a ring light. You might want to think about that kind of equipment too, if you're gonna use your phone as your device to to record with that person. Let's see. Johnny has so a podcast is like a public radio interview. Yeah, it is. It's a lot like that. Yes. Can you just do audio like a radio interview? I do use the audio only when I am uploading it to, well, I have a service where I upload it and it goes to Apple, Spotify, Amazon. I can't remember where else. I then use the video. I re-edit it, the video part for YouTube. And then I also, on my website, I go get the link from Libsyn, which is my service that disseminates it. But yes, yes, you can do just audio. And when you are communicating with the podcaster, you can tell them your situation. I don't have the ability to do video, but I can do audio. So you can find out from them if they require video. Let's see. Are podcasts something you can use like a chapter a day on public radio? Yes, I think you could. Uh, if you are going to be a podcaster, that could be a really great, that could be really great. Um, Oh, sorry, the last question wasn't clear. I'm trying to listen and type at the same time. Okay. Uh, can a chapter of an audiobook be used as a podcast? Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, so it depends on the podcaster and how they manage their podcast. Uh, yeah, I think that could be a link that they could put in the show notes. Um, or you could just send that to them to if you don't want to send the whole entire audiobook, you could just send them like a significant chapter or something that happens that you want to talk about on the
I would say,
podcast.
Lucinda, do you think that would be kind of a probably a more unusual use case? Because podcast is really more about conversation with people, typically,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Yeah. Well, in the case of Johnny, Johnny might not have, if I remember correctly, Johnny, are you the one that was on Marshall's uh, event on the 12th of August? If you are, you didn't have access to internet where you lived, but cellular is internet, so you could use your phone as your podcast device. Um, but yeah, if you send the audio, okay, I'm going to use an upcoming episode that I have in September. I interviewed a woman who is a musician. She writes her own songs. She lives in Nevada City, California, and that's gold rush country. And she writes songs about the women who were part of the gold rush. And so she wanted to sing one of her songs on the podcast. And so I let her do that. We recorded a song that she wrote on the podcast. So is that the kind of thing that you're asking? Because it could be just a little segment of the podcast, and then you could have a conversation around that audio portion of your book. I think, I mean, I'm an, I, I'm open for anything. Some podcasters are not like that. Some pos they have questions they want to ask, and they ask you a question, you answer it. They ask you another question, you answer it. I don't like those kind of podcasts. I don't like being a guest on those kind of podcasts. But but I've been on podcasts like that before. So yeah, it just depends on the podcaster to answer your question. Oh, come I forgot to put it on Do Not Disturb. Um, Sorry, I forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. That's another thing. Oh, I'm so glad that happened. When you when you are podcasting on a podcast, be sure to turn off your phone. Uh, if it's close by you. And put it on Do Not Disturb so that it doesn't ring or you don't get an email ding or something like that. I've had that happen before where the my phone is on Do Not Disturb, but the person who is my guest forgot to do that and their email dings or something. Any other questions? Okay. Oh, good. Okay. Uh, I answered the question. Okay. First, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show you Podmatch so that if you decide you want to join a dating service for podcasters or a podcasting service, you can kind of know what to expect. And let me see what here it is. Podmatch. Okay. Uh, can everybody see that? Can you see that, Lorraine?
Yep.
Okay, I forgot. I'm going to my dashboard. Okay, if you'll notice on the left, my to-do list is pretty long, but it's because a lot of the people that I have set up recordings with, I have not sent them the Zoom link because I'm not recording with them for like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 months. I only set up the Zoom recording links when I'm doing a podcast a couple of days before. Otherwise, I get confused and I forget. Because I'm old. Uh, unless it's like the event here that is a recurring event, I set that up and it just automatically recurs. But these people I'm only going to see once. And so I don't set up their podcast Zoom URL until a couple of days or 3 days before we are going to record. And then I send them the confirmation that we're still getting together and here's the Zoom link. And it's just that's my workflow. Um, if you notice in the middle here, upcoming interviews. I'm hosting Robert Wolf, who I have his book. I'm going to read it this week. August 28th is when we're recording, and all of the times are in my time zone. So we're getting together at 8 o'clock Mountain Standard Time because I think he's on the East Coast. Uh, and then I'm hosting JF Monroe on the 3rd of September. I think she's on the East Coast too. But I am going to be a guest on a writer's day on the 4th of September. So it tells me if I'm the host or if I'm the guest and what's upcoming, that's really nice. And then here's the estimated episode releases. I was a guest on my podcast story, and the release date was the 6th of August. I thought it was the 8th of August. I think it was on the 8th of August that it was released. Um, oh, wait, no. Sorry. The Podcaster Nation is the one that came out on the 8th. But it tells when it was. And if I click on that, I'm going to click on this. Uh, oops, nope, wait, sorry. Go back. If I click in messages and I go to my guest view, then I can go here and it has the episode link. And I can click on that and I can go listen to my episode and I can share it that's another thing. If you are on a podcast, they kind of want you to share their podcast, your episode, with your social media so that it even goes wider. The information about your book even goes wider. Okay, So that's kind of a nice thing because I can click here and then I can share that I was on this podcast with my social media network. And then if you look up here at the top, see this little red heart and it says matches. Podmatch is this really great has this really great thing about their service. They will suggest matches for me. Now, I only have matches for guests, right? To be a guest right now, because I have hidden my host profile because I have way too many requests and I'm already in halfway into 2026. And I don't like to record month a year in advance, for example, which I did one year and that was totally a mistake. I learned a lesson. I like to do it 3 weeks or maybe a month, but I like to keep it fairly close to when the episode's going to air. So I get a chance to look at this podcast, it it chance is, I've never heard of this podcast. I get to read a description about it. And then here are some episodes I can listen to see if I like the podcast host. And I can go check out their website or any of their other social medias if I want to. And then they give more information about their podcast. Up here at the top, I can say I can message them and say, I would like to be on your podcast. Or I can say, well, I'm not ready for this right now. Or I can say, if it doesn't fit me at all, like this one doesn't really fit me at all, I can say pass. Or if I was on their podcast once before, I can say previously interviewed, which I've never done that one. Um, this one doesn't really fit me, so I think I'm going to say pass. And then it gives me the next one, the Green Band, TV
Yeah.
and film. Oh, I like that. So I will say maybe later.
Oh, so um, Lucinda, these are where you're looking at where the little heart is on the top. It says matches. So
Uh-huh.
these matches, even though you've been in Podmatch for years, right?
Yeah.
And so you're still getting new matches after all this time?
Oh, yeah, because new people are joining all the time. And I and if I say maybe when I clear out this matches, like when if I say maybe later, I'm going to say maybe later to this one. Now, see, it says calculating your next matches. So they're going to try to match me up with some more people later today.
Wow.
Because I'm a paid member, I get a quicker turnaround about matches. I don't know if they still have a free tier.
I don't
The
think so.
tier that I'm on is the lowest tier, and it's $26 a month. Going back to my dashboard. I also get a little commission when I interview people who are members, paying members of Podmatch, or if someone joins Podmatch using my affiliate link. You notice I don't pay attention to that. I don't send my affiliate link out very often. But it's kind of nice to get $100 at the end of the year or however many dollars it is. Over here, it has the guests and their levels, the first top 10 people who have been on a lot of podcasts. My ranking is 431. I haven't been on very many podcasts recently because I'm very, very busy. There's also a list for hosts.
But that says you're in the top 9%. So,
Oh, well, I suppose that's true. Yeah. That's global ranking because there are people from all over the world who belong to Podmatch.
wow.
Yeah. Um, See, I've been on Book 101. I've been on KAJ Master Class. KAJ also AJ also has another podcast that I've been on. Let's see. I think I've been on this one, Healthy Mind, Healthy Life as well. Um, okay. Let's see.
So this organizes everything, it looks like, right, Lucinda? Or is this how you're
Yeah.
booking most of your guests?
Yeah, it does help me. What about guests?
Is this how you're booking the majority of your guests?
Yes. Although recently I have been um contacted. I'm going to stop sharing just a sec. Oh, well, first I want to show you. These are little videos that you can watch. Oh, this is a new one. I haven't watched this one. But all the ones that are checked off, I've watched all these little videos that help you navigate Podmatch.
Mm.
Okay. So I don't know how other sites work, but I like this one because it really helps keep me organized, like you said. Now, I'm going to stop sharing. And what was it that you asked me just now that I want to answer?
Oh, well, I think you answered it. Is this how you're booking most of your guests?
Oh, yes. But recently I have been contacted, and this is through my website, which really needs to be revamped. But it is it's somehow people listen to my podcast on one of the outlets or they listen to it on my website and then they contact me. And it's usually PR people who are trying to help promote their client's book. Now,
Oh,
sometimes I don't. I will say, "Oh, thank you for suggesting that," but I'm not going to read a horror book. I'm not going to read a book that I'm not enjoying. I don't want to enjoy. But there have been two memoirists recently that I did. I'm not a big memoir reader, but I did read their books and interview them, and they were fantastic. They were fantastic. Both of them were fantastic. One of them's sort of a novelization memoir, but they were both really excellent books. So, and then people, I think I found you, you found me through LinkedIn, I think. How
I
did
was,
we connect?
so we were traveling to Bisbee, and a lot of times when we travel, I'm in my RV now, you can kind of tell.
Hmm, hmm.
When we're traveling, I will look up local authors, and you popped up in a local author search there.
That's right. Right. Yeah. I forgot about that. So, yeah, people find me in various ways, or I find them like uh the woman from Nevada City who writes her own songs. We were in Nevada City. She happened to be the waitress in this cafe that we were eating breakfast in, and we heard her talking to somebody else about her music and about she had just formed her band. And so I invited her to be a guest. And I think her episode airs the 1st of September sometime. And then the next one after that is a friend of my niece's who's also a musician. And so I asked her to be a guest on my podcast. And I think that both of them are in September. So, yeah, sometimes I just meet people and I go, "Oh, would you be like to be on my podcast?" Now I'm gonna have to develop some cards to hand out because I haven't done that yet. Um, when I meet people in person, and I want
Oh,
to
some
have
business cards.
some business cards. Excuse me. So, Johnny, do you have any questions? Lorraine, do you have any questions?
No, I think this is fabulous. Lucinda, it's, good reminders to pay attention to, if the podcast host is asking for special equipment, good reminders about muting your phone, having a good background, which I would not do here. I can do a green screen when we're on the road here, but I would try to schedule most of mine at home, I think. But no, I think these are amazing tips.
Yeah, I mean, I just discovered I like my background, but I just discovered that there the computer has some built-in backgrounds, which I probably should use maybe. Um, but I like my office. So, um, Johnny, I just put the Podmatch link in the chat in case you want to go check it out. That's my affiliate link. You do not have to join. It's just a way for you to go poke around if you want to. Or you can just go to podmatch.com and poke around if you want to look at them. Yeah. Um, okay.
And you're going to do this once a month, Lucinda, right? So in another month, we'll have another opportunity if we have more
Sept
questions, whatnot.
Yeah, I think it's September 17th. I'm looking. It is September 17th. And Johnny, I forgot to tell you, we are recording this and we're going to put it up on the Prolific Writers Life YouTube channel. And I'm going to make a playlist on story power for these Prolific Writer Life events. So you can go back and visit it again if you want. If you like I said something and you didn't get to write it down or yeah. So,
And Nate asked about that too. He was going to be here, but he's hoping to see the recording. So that works out.
oh, okay. Oh yeah, sure. Now, don't forget, you can email me and ask me any question you want to, and if you want to be on my podcast and you want to use your phone, we can work that out too. We can figure that out. My husband happens to be a techie, so we can figure anything out. And if you want to send me, if you are on my podcast and you want to send me your book or books, I'll read one or two of them so we can talk about them on the podcast. Some of the books I scan, I will I'll read part, like half of it, and then I'll skim. If it's not something that I'm really super excited about, I'll skim it so that I can know about it. But most of the time, I'm really love the books. There's only been a couple of times, like one of my podcast guests is a romance writer. I'm not a big romance fan, but I did read her book, and but I was sort of crushed for time because I was also reading her mystery. She started writing mysteries and I needed to read them both really fast. So I sort of skimmed through a little bit.
That's so nice that you do that, Lucinda. I think you are truly at the top there of podcasters by taking the time to read so not just one, but so many of your guest books.
Well, um, I I feel sort of stupid if I don't know what their book is about and I'm asking them questions about it, or because I like to make comments about the book too. So that's why I read them.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
thank you
yeah.
so much, Lucinda.
Oh, well, thank you for putting the Prolific Writers Life event link in there. I didn't think to do that.
Yeah.
Uh, okay. If there are no more questions or comments, I guess we can see you next month. And Johnny, I hope you've got my email there. If you have any questions you want to email me later, um, I'm happy to answer any questions I probably haven't thought of before. So any questions that you have that I haven't thought about, um, we'll find the answers for you.
Thank you, Lucinda.
You're welcome.
Hope to see you again, Johnny.
Yes. Okay. Anyone who is watching this, thanks for watching. Subscribe to Story Power.